Hello everyone, it's been a little while. Welcome back to Elden Ring Lore Explained. I've gotten some comments from people recently. I've gotten comments on videos or in streams of people being like, hey, where are the Elden Ring videos? Well, in case you didn't see it, I did a community post a few weeks back. And I explained that I was starting to feel a little burnt out. I recorded the previous 3 episodes, I think. We recorded them in one session, and I held off on recording this video because it was like 12:30 in the morning or something by the time we were done recording the other ones, and I wasn't super feeling the video based on how prepared I was for it, so I was like, alright, I'll hold off on doing it. And we had like a week and a half's worth of videos recorded, so I wasn't in a rush. And then, I want to say like a week later, it was before the Godskin Apostles video was made public, I was sitting there thinking to myself, oh god, I have to get around to recording this video. And then pretty much as soon as that thought crossed my mind, I was like, oh, I think I should take a break for a little bit, because if I'm getting burnt out on these videos, that's really bad. Because when I get burnt out on doing videos for something, it usually results in me not really doing them consistently anymore. And that would be bad, because I like making these videos, and you guys seem to like watching them. So I took a break. It's been, what, almost a month now? It's been a few weeks. And now we're back here again. With Neo. Unfortunately, no one else is available at the moment. But Neo's here.
Sadly, it's only 2 of us this time.
Yeah. Oh well. And today, we are going to be talking about one of the most important and mysterious groups of people in all of Elden Ring. Oh man. We're back already. I'm already tripping over my own words. Amazing. One of the most infamous groups in all of the lands between, those who are arguably responsible for triggering the Shattering, the demigod slayers known as the Black Knife Assassins. These fine ladies are extremely important, so important that they were revealed in a cinematic trailer several months before the game came out. It was at the Game Awards, right? I think that was when they revealed that.
Yeah, I believe that's right.
Yeah, that was the story one where we got introduced to Ranni, and we saw the battle between Radahn and Malenia, and all that good stuff. And we saw the Night of the Black Knives, during which the Rune of Death was stolen, and Godwyn the Golden was the first of the demigods to die. So, this video is going to consist largely of going over what information we do know about the Black Knife Assassins, and then doing a little bit of speculation, because there's quite the theory regarding these assassins. So, for starters, some of the most important information we know about them. First, according to Roger, all of the Black Knife Assassins are women. All of them are either Numen or descendants of the Numen, and they are scions of the Eternal City.
Yeah.
Scions, of course, being descendants of noble blood. So they are people of noble background descended from the inhabitants of the Eternal City. Which I guess means that the Numen are from the Eternal City. The Numen are supposedly from another world outside the lands between. I know some people have gone over this before.
That's what Marika is.
Yeah, we know Marika is at least related to the Numen.
And it does say, when you do get their entire set, the main line between all of them is they were all female and they were rumored to be connected with Marika.
Right, there is
some way.
Supposedly some kind of connection. Supposedly close ties between them. Those are never exactly revealed, but we do know that they are all Numen. Marika is one of the Numen, or descended from the Numen as well. So they seem to come from similar origins. I don't know if the Eternal City would necessarily be another world, but maybe it was in another world before the inhabitants of the Eternal City, the Nox, if you want to call them that. I believe that's what they're called. Um, had offended the Greater Will. They had done something in an effort to undermine it, so the Greater Will just threw Astel at them, and that was why the Eternal Cities ended up being underground. Are they still technically from outside the Lands Between? I guess technically, if you want to say the Eternal Cities are beneath the Lands Between,
We
as
just
in
don't
not
know
part of
where,
it.
like, we know it's like the Eternal City was like above ground, and then Astel kind of crashed them to the ground and dug them underground. But we don't know where the Eternal City was. Like, it
Right.
might have been a Farm Azula thing where it was just kind of like a flying city.
I always thought it was a flying city or something. That's what I had always thought that it was.
It does have a similar architecture to Farm Azula, a
A
bit.
little bit. They're quite different. Well, they're both really fucking old. I'm pretty sure they're
Yeah,
both from before the age of the Erd Tree.
100%.
So they're new men. They're all women. They are apparently scions or descended from scions of the Eternal City. They have close ties to Marika. Their armor was forged to make no sound, and their concealing veils muffle the sounds of footsteps. So all of the stuff they were given was for the purpose of infiltration and assassination, for not being caught, at least until they had committed the act. Um, the Black Knife Assassins existed before the night of the plot, before the plan to steal the Rune of Death and kill Godwyn was put in place. They were already there, as far as we can tell, maybe. I doubt
Yeah,
Ranni
like they are
assembled them. They conspired with Ranni. Ranni conspired with the Black Knife Assassins. She did not create them. She did not assemble the Black Knife Assassins. She conspired with them, which suggests that they were already an existing group. Which means whatever goals they had
yeah.
probably already existed prior to Ranni being like, hey, you guys wanna kill some demigods or something?
How the entire universe to fracture apart.
So, I went over this in the past. I went over this in a few videos. But Ranni's and the Black Knife Assassin's goals are not the same. They just happen to intersect with stealing the Rune of Death. The Black Knife Assassins wanted to kill Godwyn. Ranni seemingly mostly just wanted the rune to destroy her Empyrean flesh so that she would be freed from the fate of becoming Marika's successor. So, they were allies of convenience. We know that she, according to herself, was the one who stole the Rune of Death from Malekith. Now this is weird, because I've been like, how? How did she do that, though? Was it with help from Rykard? Because Rykard, as the Praetor, probably would have had the type of influence to be able to get Ranni close to wherever Malekith was keeping his sword. Well, he keeps it on him all the time. Presumably the guy sleeps sometimes or something. So, I imagine it would probably play out like some kind of myth of stealing something while the watchdog slumbers. Something of that nature. But other people have suggested that, oh yeah, the Black Knife Assassins are able to be basically invisible. In fact, one of the ones that we fight is straight up... Two of them, actually, are straight up invisible. So we know that they can go invisible, and their veils mask the sounds of their footsteps, so it's possible for them to go undetected. So, I've seen a lot of people suggest that they're actually the ones who stole the Rune of Death from Malekith, or at least part of the Rune of Death. Which one actually did it? I don't know. But we do know for certain that Ranni was the one who performed a ritual to create the Black Knives. which are very similar to the Blade of Calling, which was seemingly a weapon made for the maiden, for the one who walks beside flame, aka the person seemingly destined to burn down the Erd Tree or something. So, I don't know what the implications of that are. We know that there are... Our exact situation has happened to at least two other Tarnished prior to us. Bernal and Vike. Vike forsook his duty and sought the Frenzied Flame to try and save his Finger Maiden, whereas Bernal had his maiden sacrificed to the flames, but it didn't work or something. I don't know. I don't know all the details with Bernal's lore yet. I remember discovering that live on stream was a big shocker. So, this same thing has happened to other Tarnished and their Finger Maidens before. So, presumably, every one of the maidens that's had the same position as Melina has had the Blade of Calling, which is why she has it. But the similarities between those weapons is certainly something of note. I don't have a completely coherent theory in my head as of yet, but the connection is something that should be kept in mind. So, we know the ringleader of the Black Knife Assassins was a woman by the name of Alecto, and she has, or had, a daughter named Tish. I'm not sure. It's kind of spelled like niche, but with a T, so I imagine it'd be Tish.
Yeah, probably Tish.
So, there is some kind of hierarchy within the Black Knife Assassins, or at the very least, Alecto was the one that originally organized them, and presumably was probably the one doing the direct dealing with Ranni. Then we have to wonder, why did the Black Knife Assassins want to kill Godwyn? What did they have to gain from it? What was their overall goal? We know from... Yeah, why specifically Godwyn? We know Godwyn was seemingly like the golden child of Marika. The only other two direct offspring of her from Godfrey of note are both Omen that got thrown in the sewers. So Godwyn's the really only notable child to come from Marika and Godfrey, and as such would probably be pretty significant. He's also the dude that led the war against the Ancient Dragons, befriended Fortisax, all that great stuff. Was seemingly a pretty cool guy. So you could argue that killing Godwyn, of all people, had some sort of symbolic significance. But you also have to consider what Fia talks about with Godwyn. That when Godwyn died, he was supposed to bear the Hallowbrand curse mark, the Mending Rune of Death. But it was split because Ranni used one of the Black Knives to kill herself at the same time. So, did the Black Knives kill Godwyn to obtain the Hallowbrand? This is an interesting question. We know the Hallowbrand is used to fix the Elden Ring so that those who live within death become part of the Golden Order. They're no longer an aberration, a blasphemous existence. They are now part of the natural order. But those who live within death, outside of, I guess, those who willingly became spirits, assuming that they existed prior to the Shattering, would not have existed yet at this point. So then, that raises more questions again, is if the Elden Ring hasn't been shattered yet, meaning we don't need the Mending Rune, what's the point of killing Godwyn for the Hallowbrand? These are more questions. So after Godwyn's killed, the Black Knife assassins flee from Lanedell, and Tish is killed while trying to protect Alecto. And then we end up getting her spirit ashes from Alecto, who at some point was thrown into an Everjail. She's thrown into the ringleader's Everjail on the Moonlight Altar, which is only accessible through the ring that we find in Raya Lucaria, which is supposed to belong to Ranni. So maybe Ranni, or those adjacent to Ranni, were responsible for imprisoning Alecto within the Everjail. Maybe.
Yeah, and it is to note when I didn't know this initially, but when you finish Ronnie's quest line and you have to kill Blide, there's a shit ton of Black Knife assassin bodies
Oh,
around.
yes. Yeah. When Ronnie's questline is finished up, the Black Knife assassins have come to kill her and all of her associates. They seemingly kill E.G. I'm pretty sure they kill Celuvis, and they try to kill Blythe. And there's a bunch of them.
Yeah. I didn't know that at first. I didn't even know that like happened. Blide was still there.
So, knowing that the Hallowbrand was split because of Ranni killing her flesh, this provides at least some reasoning as to why the Black Knives would want to come and kill her, is because her actions ended up messing up their plan of getting the Hallowbrand, if that was their intention. Not entirely clear. Or, alternatively, it's because they, Ranni threw their ringleader into jail.
Either of these makes sense.
Yeah, either of these makes sense, depending on what you believe the exact goals of the Black Knife Assassins were. Because the Alecto one seems like very basic in the present. It's more like, you threw our ringleader in jail. We're going to get revenge on you. Alternatively, it's like, you little shit, you messed up everything. We're going to kill you and all of your friends.
Which sounds like a Ronnie thing to do. But definitely is in line with Ronnie.
Yeah. So, then, after the Black Knife Assassins succeed in killing Godwyn, Morgott, after taking over, becoming the Veiled Monarch, the Lord of Lanedell, he issues the Sentry's torches to all of his servants to ensure that another Night of Black Knives would never happen again, because the Sentry's torches allow you to see through the concealing veils, so you can see the Black Knife Assassins. I've never used it personally. I'm assuming it's able to do that. Like, I assume if you use it in the cave with the invisible one, or you use it on the one in the Consecrated Snowfields, that would probably allow you to see them. Though, then you also have to wonder, well, Morgott doesn't know the deals of the conspiracy, as far as we're aware. So, kind of just seems like a general safety precaution. It's like, no, I doubt the Black Knife Assassins would come back to kill, I don't know, Morgott, maybe? Or someone else. I have no idea. Seems like it probably wouldn't happen, as far as we're aware. But as far as Morgott would be aware, it just seems like a very basic response to, like, a massive breach in security. And, the death of his brother, so. Though I doubt those two really ever spoke to each other, so. Seems more like Morgott just being kind of a responsible ruler. So after everything happens... Yeah.
I was like, we know how Morgott views a lot of his other siblings, but we don't know how he views Godwyn.
Right.
He calls a lot of them just traitors.
Well, he calls them traitors because after the Shattering happened, they all went off to do their own thing. Godwyn never got a chance to do that because he fucking died before the Shattering and was, frankly, one of the contributing factors into it happening.
Yeah. There's also, I know there's a huge theory in some people's heads that like Marika is the secret mastermind of this all, that she
Oh,
organized
we're
this
gonna
whole
get
thing.
into that. Don't you worry. Because we
Yeah.
have to get into that. Because it's insane. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean it's one of those things that's like, holy shit. Like the suggestion that, I remember when, people were looking around at the assets in Dark Souls 3 and they noticed that one of the statues in the High Wall of Lothric had the profane greatsword. And a lot of people were like, "Oh my God, does this create a connection between Sullivan and Lothric, outside of just sending the Outrider Knights? Was Sullivan the one responsible for convincing Lothric and Lorien to abandon the Age of Fire? Maybe. It's a pretty fucking crazy connection. Not necessarily true.
Yeah,
We don't
maybe
really
that.
know, but this Marika theory is
And with
pretty
Marika, it's
bonkers.
like it makes sense too, which is crazy. I
Right.
know some parts of it.
So after all of the Godwin killing business is over, where do the Black Knife assassins end up? Well, if my memory's correct, and I remember where we find all of them, the first of which we probably encounter is in the Death-Touched Catacombs in Limgrave. That one seems to be injured. Like, he has, like, half health or something when you start the
Yeah.
fight with him. So, I don't know. Got injured doing something, I guess. I have no idea. Um, we encounter another one in the Black Knife Catacombs, very creatively named, in Limgrave. There is one outside one of the heroes' graves in the Altus Plateau. The one right outside of Lanedale. It's fairly close to where you fight Lanciax the second time. There's another one outside Marika's bedchamber, which is a very
Yeah.
interesting place for one of them to just be hanging out, just chilling,
Yeah.
right under Morgoth's nose.
Literally, Morgoth is in the next fucking room.
He's like 2 rooms over, and they're just hanging out there. They look like they're dead. They may be pretending to be dead or something, or they're just sleeping. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Let's see. Where do we find any other ones? I'm attempting to jog my memory. We find one in the... Actually, we find another one relatively close to where we fight Lanciax the first time. This one's in the cave, the same one that has the hidden necromancer boss. Um,
Oh yeah.
that one's actually invisible. That's the one you can get the concealing veil from. There's an invisible one in the consecrated snowfields, trapped in the Everjail you need to go into in order to activate the portal to the Haligtree. And I think... Oh, right, and of course then you also have Alecto in the Everjail. I think that's all of them. I think. So
I believe
why are they
you're
in
looking at
these
that's what I was
respective
gonna say.
places? Oh, yes?
I was like, I have no information to confirm or deny that, so I'm just gonna say sure.
Right, of course. And if I forgot one of them, be sure to let me know down in the comments. Speaking of, if you haven't already, be sure to like and leave a comment to help boost us up in the algorithm. You know, we haven't done an Elden Ring lore video in a while, so getting a bit of an algorithm boost would be very helpful. So, yeah, be sure to do that. And subscribe if you haven't already, so you don't miss any future Elden Ring lore explained videos. Now, why are all of the Black Knife assassins in the places that we find them in? Oh, yeah, and, you know, they're the dead ones that tried to kill Blythe and EG and Zelivus. EG got a few of them, at least, which is good. Well, for starters, the one that we find in the Death-Touched Catacombs and the one that we find in the Black Knife Catacombs, I'm pretty sure both of those have Deathroot in them there. You know, both of those are
Yeah.
catacombs where we find Deathroot, which, as we know, is the essence of destined death that had seeped into the roots of the Erd Tree and the Great Tree, or whatever, the roots of the world, and begin to sprout out in other places. So, presumably they were there to see if they could maybe get back some of that destined death power, because their black knives only have, you know, remnants of the power of the Rune of Death. It's scraps. It's garbage. You know, it's not like Malekith having the Rune of Death. So they want that back. So presumably that is why they are there. I don't remember if the hero's grave in on the Altus Plateau has Deathroot in it. I don't think it does. I'm pretty sure it doesn't. But that's right outside Lanedale, and of course there's another one that we find in Lanedale, so presumably they're still kind of scoping the place out a little bit, trying to see what's going on. Maybe. Then you have the invisible one in the cave with a necromancer. I don't think there's Deathroot there. Though there are skeletons, so there are those who live in death. And there's the necromancer guy, of course. So, you know, there are various other death connections there. That may be where they're hiding out. I think with a lot of them, if there's not Deathroot there, and they're not hanging out around Lanedale, I think they're probably, you know, they went into hiding. Why was that one in the Everjail and the consecrated snowfields? I don't know. They're basically helping out with security to get to the Halig Tree, though in another sense you could say they're preventing people from getting to the Halig Tree. Because, like, I don't think... I understand, like, there are the trials and tribulations of getting the pieces of the Halig Tree medallion, but at the same time, the Halig Tree was grown to help people. I don't think Mikola would be like, oh yeah, if people try to come here, you should try to murder them to make sure they have a rough time getting here. At the same time, the Black Knife Assassin in the Everjail is working with some Albinorics. So maybe he is helping out, maybe the security is intentional. Again, isn't this supposed to be a home for, like, people rejected by the Erdtree? So, why would you be giving someone a really rough time when they're trying to get there? I don't understand. And then, of course, I already went over what I think the deal is with Alecto, presumably imprisoned by Ranni.
Yeah.
Now, that is in order. Why don't we talk about some crazy stuff? By the way, we're going to be having a third person join us. I don't know how much she'll contribute, but I'm sure she'll enjoy listening in on the conversation and maybe occasionally ask us some questions. So, I heard about this conspiracy theory when I was actually originally doing research for this video. I was doing the notes for the videos, I was getting ready, and I was like, shit, I don't think I know that much about the Black Knife Assassins. So I went and I looked around and I looked for like a lore video, because I'm like, alright, let's see some ideas other people have come up with. What are some things other people have looked at? Hello, Clover.
Hello.
How are you?
I just woke up.
Nice. We're talking about the Black Knife Assassins.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
They are. We were just talking about the basics for them, or, you know, the confirmed information, where we find them. Now we're gonna get into some crazy stuff, which is a big conspiracy theory involving them.
No, tell me about the crazy things. I'm excited for crazy things.
So, there is a theory that Marika was the one who actually orchestrated the Night of the Black Knives.
Yeah.
You know, the stealing of the Rune of Death that she had Malekith seal away, and the murder of her own son.
Yeah.
Now we do know
It's just basically
Marika.
Marika is this fucking
We do know.
Machiavellian schemer planning all this.
Yeah. Well, we do know Marika has a tendency to be a bit of a, you know, a heartless bitch. Just look at, well, what ends up happening to Malekith, what happened to Godfrey. Though, apparently, the Tarnished were intended to come back eventually when they were needed, but still, Godfrey kind of got fucked over. I doubt Godfrey was the one who came up with the idea of throwing the Omen underground. She cursed the Fire Giant, just kind of for existing. Fucked over Renala. In more ways than one, depending on your interpretation of the lore. Yeah, Marika's never really seemed to be like a great person or anything, but orchestrating the murder of her own son seems pretty crazy. It's a pretty wild allegation, and you would want to have some pretty good evidence to back that up. Well, let's get into it a little bit. For starters, as we talked about earlier, Marika is a Newman, just like how all of the Black Knife assassins are. They all come from the same place. Presumably she has some kind of connections with the Eternal City. So, likely has similar origins as the Black Knife assassins. Roger claims, or no, not Roger. The Black Knife assassin says that they have close ties to Marika. We don't know exactly what those close ties are. Are they blood relatives? Were they, I don't know, somehow connected politically, you know, through royal bloodlines and stuff? Were they perhaps co-conspirators? We're not told what that connection is, but obviously that kind of alludes to something there. Then we have some interesting information in regards to Malekith. Now, as we already know, Malekith was betrayed by Marika in some way that is not explicitly told to us. In the Malekith video that I did way back when, you know, it was like episode 10, I talked about how it seemed like after the Rune of Death was stolen, Marika cursed Malekith with a ceaseless hunger that could only be satiated with Death Root. Basically being like, hey, you better go get that shit back. That's your job, you better go get it back, I swear to God. So then he goes about and does that, but even after eating all of the Death Root, he's still hungry. So what it seemed like had happened was Marika lied to him. And, you know, fucked him over. But then we have to wonder a little bit. The description from Malekith's Remembrance says that Marika tasked him with protecting the Rune of Death, but even then she betrayed him. The betrayal seems to have more to do with the task Marika gave him than anything else, than anything after the fact. It seems more so to do with her tasking him with protecting the Rune of Death, and then betraying him in some way in regards to that. If you kill Garank, he has some dialogue in which he says something along the lines of, Marika, why gull me? Marika, why did you deceive me? So that raises some more questions there. Such questions being, what did you deceive him in regards to? Perhaps Marika was like, oh my god, I can't believe someone stole the Rune of Death. Malekith, you really messed things up this time. You better go get the power of destined death back. So, essentially, what may have happened was Marika tasked Malekith with protecting the Rune of Death, but then ended up assisting in stealing it from him, and then cursed him for his failure to protect it from her. Isn't that incredibly petty? Like, holy shit.
No, that's extremely petty.
Yeah. That's some prime bitch gaslighting right there.
Yeah. Then we have to wonder, well, why would Marika orchestrate the death of her own son? What purpose could there be in that? Well, good question. I don't fucking know! We know that killing Godwyn resulted in the creation of the Hallow Brand. Presumably, it was intended to have the complete curse mark wheel. It wasn't meant to be split in half. So, if anything, if Marika orchestrated Godwyn's death, that was probably what she wanted. Probably. But why would she want it? She was the one that
The reason I've
removed the Rune of
heard,
Death. Yes.
the reason that I've come to with like why Marika did all this is basically just to cause a chain reaction that would end up her being free from the greater will eventually. Like
That
that's the
does...
general idea of her motivation.
That does seem to be the overall reasoning. Because, presumably, and this was already what we had presumed, Marika shatters the Elden Ring as an act of desperation of some kind. She seemed to have shown some interest in learning what the functions of the greater will in the Elden Ring were. She wanted to know what was really going on. And maybe shattering the Elden Ring was supposed to answer that or something. But we also know shattering the Elden Ring really screwed up the Golden Order, and was not something the Greater Will was particularly fond of, to the point that it intentionally imprisoned her within the Erd Tree. So that definitely went against the Greater Will, and seemingly came about as a result of the Night of the Black Knives. So perhaps the assassination of Godwyn was in some way, shape, or form intended to undermine the Greater Will, and eventually free her from being host to the Elden Ring and the Elden Beast. But because the Hallowbrand was split in half due to Ranni's own conspiring with things that the Black Knife assassins didn't know about, the plan got messed up, and Marika was like, oh, so my son's dead for no reason, and I'm still trapped here. Shit. Well, desperate times call for desperate... Yeah, incredible. This is the best outcome I could have asked for. Not. Time for an act of desperation. So then she shatters the Elden Ring and destroys the Golden Order. Or, you know, messes up the Golden Order. You know, the rules of reality still exist, but they're all messed up. And they're not all really actively applying. So the Golden Order is broken, but it still kind of exists. You know, because we have the Golden Order incantations and stuff that impose the rules of the Golden Order, you know, banishing those who live in death and stuff. So that messed things up quite a bit, and then Marika ended up being imprisoned, like full-on imprisoned within the Erd Tree. But then it seemed like the Erd Tree growing the impenetrable thorns was not something that the Greater Will wanted, and was maybe instead Marika being like, oh, you want someone to come and become my consort and control me again? Good fucking luck. So perhaps Marika has some influence over the Erd Tree or something, I don't know. It's probably because she's the vessel of the Elden Ring that she's able to do that. So then, you know, in order for us to become the Elden Lord, we have to go and we have to burn down the fucking Erd Tree, which the Greater Will was not cool with, very explicitly not cool with, to the point where when we finally get to the Erd Tree and we can't get in, and Melina's all like, oh yeah, you need the Flame of Ruin to burn the impenetrable thorns, the two fingers are like, yes, please give me a few thousand lunar cycles to, you know, contact my supervisor and see what we should do about this situation.
Nice, nice.
So then we end up, you know, lighting the Erd Tree on fire and unleashing the Rune of Death anyway, so the Erd Tree gets burned down, and then we go, and we fight Radagon, and we kill the Elden Beast, so then the vassal of the Greater Will is no longer controlling Marika and no longer has a direct influence over the Lands Between. So even if it ended up being really convoluted, if Marika's plan was to free herself and the Lands Between from the Greater Will's influence, she succeeded in some respect, depending on which ending you picked.
Depends on your definition of success.
Yeah, you know, varying definitions of success. It depends on what your standards for success are. So yeah, that's like the most crazy out there theory about Marika and the Black Knife Assassins. It's very interesting. It's a very interesting theory. It kind of puts everything else into a new perspective when you think of things that way. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all for the Black Knife Assassins. What do you guys think about them?
They're fun. They're funky. I like them.
They are certainly quite funky. Though their movesets are fucking obnoxious. Especially all that shit Alecto pulls out.
This is true. Oh my god, yeah. Like, when I got there, I couldn't fucking beat Alecto. I'm like, I'll come back.
Dude, Alecto gives me more trouble than most of the late game bosses. It's nuts.
This is very true.
It's crazy.
He's fucking fat cheap ass.
Like, listen. Malekith's pretty tough, yeah. Yeah. I think what it is, actually, they have a surprising amount of poise. It takes quite a bit to stagger them. And also, they're seemingly immune to bleed buildup or whatever, so, you know, my blood magic build is doing shit against her. I'm pretty sure my black flame build did quite a bit better, mostly because I was using the Godslayer Greatsword, so, you know, big stagger and whatnot. God damn, she is tough. Anywho, once again, that's all for today's episode. If...
Maybe the best summon in the game that isn't Mimic tier.
Yeah. Yeah. Alright, and you can't use Mimic tier for... You can't use any of your summons in the Everjails, so yeah. She's fucking tough, but you get, like, the strongest summon in the game out of her, so I think it's worth it. Well, you know, ever since the patches and stuff, and Mimic tier being nerfed into the ground, which is just a travesty. It's barely useful anymore. But Tisha's still busted as fuck. I don't know why, but, like, Tisha's opening ranged attack in any boss fight deletes, like, a sixth of their health. And she never does that much damage in a single attack ever again. I have no idea why it does that. I haven't played in a little bit, you know, because I've been doing the other Souls game playthroughs, but I don't know if that's a glitch or not. It's really useful, though.
True. If it's a glitch, if it's not, it's fucking useful.
I'm not gonna complain. These games are about getting as cracked as humanly possible. Anywho, for like the third time now, that's pretty much all for today's video. If you enjoyed, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you don't miss any future episodes of Elden Ring Lore Explained. We're going to be going to weekly now. I think I'm going to upload these on Saturdays, so, you know, I'm not going to burn myself out doing these again. So, hopefully, ideally, we probably won't be having another break again, which I hope you appreciate. I think for the next episode, I'll probably talk about Godwyn and those who live in death. And then after that, I think we're probably going to start talking about some of the Outer Gods, because we haven't really had dedicated videos talking about them yet. I don't know how many we'll do. There'll probably be an individual one about the Greater Will and the Elden Beast, and then probably one just kind of talking about them in general. Now, I'll probably have another one, Frenzied Flame, and the Three Fingers will probably have their own one.
Yeah, Frenzied Flame is probably...
That's probably its own video, and then, we'll probably just have another one that's just like, oh, here are the other Outer Gods that we're vaguely aware of. Which is like 3 of them. The Moon, the Scarlet Rot Goddess, and
Modes. The what is Modes called? The District
the Formless Mother, that's the one. There you go. Yeah, so I guess we'll have a video talking about those 3 too. So thank you all for watching. Until next time.
Vague Dragon God.
Oh yeah, we don't know what their deal is. Oh right, and if you want to catch any of those future episodes early, they'll be available for early access on the Patreon after we record them. So yeah. Thank you all for watching. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye.